As you can see, this is a little different than our normal Tipping Points and Puzzle Pieces show. Marwan is occupied elsewhere today, so it was either do no show or have me run the show for a short time myself, which is terrifying the heck out of me because I prefer the conversation format. That said, I am mostly terrified because I tend to lecture. And I don't really think that this is the time to do that. So we're going to try and have a little bit of a discussion and see where we go with that. I'm looking forward to anybody who has something to say about what we're talking about today, which is not, by the way, the subject that we were originally going to talk about because that is actually works better in the format of discussion. What I'd like to talk about today is some of the other things that go on. We've talked a lot about how broken things are. And I've talked a lot about the machine that is our process. And, and I know people are shaking their head, well, what the hell is he talking about? And so let's talk about that a little bit. Um, I want you all to think for a moment, and I want you to think about interactions with customer service. That's something all of us have to deal with at some point, and most of us just do not want to have to do at any point. When you talk to a customer service representative, you get a sense that they can actually make any kind of decision. Do you get a sense that they can actually solve your problem most of the time? Now, there are exceptions to this rule. Of course, there always are. But in the case of normal life, do you feel like the people you're talking to are there to just take notes, if they even do that, or are just there to walk you through a process and try and figure out something? Um, that same experience can be taken to every level of a corporation, every level of government, every level of any organization that is large. They become a machine. They become more about the process. If you think of a machine's wheels turning and doing what it does, that's what the process looks like. Everybody is a piece of the machine and they follow the rules of the machine. If you don't follow the rules of the machine and you actually try and do something outside of the norm, you get punished and or demoted or talked to or whatever happens in how they view the severity of your breach of the machine. So if you look at things like that, you start understanding that there's really nobody in charge. There's the CEO. The CEO has actually a very narrow parameter: make money for stockholders. That is the number one goal. The director of an organization in the government is politically driven usually, and their goals are to make very few waves and to not change anything too much. And when you look at this, and again, I'm generalizing here, folks. I'm generalizing. I'm talking about in generals. There are exceptions to the rules. There are people that actually try and do good. But you have a giant machine, and trying to change something quickly usually doesn't work. And that's why the government doesn't change quickly, because the bureaucracy is there to prevent quick change. This is a good thing. And in corporations, we'll talk about in a second, but in the government, quick change usually does not work well for everybody because it's politically driven. Um, and you don't want that kind of change happening quickly. But that very same reluctance to change, while it creates a level of security and prevents the worst impulses of politicians from happening and from the people who drive them for one thing, which isn't going to address all needs, um, it also prevents good change. And it also creates the animosity in most people about the government, and especially in the folks that think the government is too big and it isn't efficient, and doesn't address the people's needs. They have a lot of truth in what they say because it doesn't. And that's because it's a machine, and you have to understand that. And anything you do with it has to be within the parameters of how the machine works. If you don't look at it that way, you're going to end up in a situation where you're frustrated and not getting your needs met. And I, to bring it back to a personal thing, I'm dealing with that now with two government agencies, and quite honestly, I would rather bang my head into a steel wall repeatedly than have to get on the phone with any of them. And I've been dealing with a couple of the issues for 3 months now. So, yeah, I get it. Whenever I have to call Google for customer service or any of the other vendors I have for customer service, I'd rather have my teeth pulled. It's just horrific and you don't get your needs met. And I do understand how they work, and I'm still dealing with these problems. Everybody does. You are not alone in that. When you deal with corporations, same issue. Except theirs is a little easier to understand because they are focused on the generation of profit. And if you look at things within that filter or that lens, you understand why they do what they do and how that affects the decisions that you're dealing with. And frequently I roll my eyes and go, this is not the best way to deal with this. Um, and Marwan just sent in a note that he is missing out today, but he is helping the youth engage with the state government in Olympia and doing We the People, which is what we talk about all the time. So, yay, Marwan. All right. So, back to the subject about the machines. When you understand that things are machines, it's easier to understand why we aren't getting our needs met, because machines don't look at individual needs, they look at the overall picture. And today, for the next 10 minutes or so, because this is going to be a shorter program, not having Marwan here, and I don't want to lecture, I want to talk about one of the machines that has become that I've become very aware of over the last week or two, and hearing people's stories and talking to people, and having my own experience with it, but I hadn't really put it in this light. Let's talk about healthcare and the machine of healthcare. My personal opinion is that our healthcare has gotten the pharmaceutical corporations far too involved in their decision making process. Every solution that I have heard from my personal experience over the last 5 years has involved a pill and or a procedure that, or predominantly it's been pharmaceutical answers, and they do not usually work for me. I don't do well with a lot of the pharmaceutical answers, and I have to ask whether it's me and my physiology is just different, or whether they're just not measuring the actual results of the medication that they're applying. And I have no scientific data on this. Don't please understand that I'm not saying this. It's just my thinking process is asking that question. And as I'm hearing people's stories over and over again, and I'm looking at our processes and our procedures for applying healthcare, it makes me wonder more about whether our bodies and our individuality and our particular symptoms and or medical needs are actually even being looked at, or whether they're just checking off boxes that are provided from a machine type operation, and we just have to fit within that box, and if we don't, we're out of luck. So I'm not saying that we should rally up and go charge the hospitals or the pharmaceutical companies. There's a lot of work being done on that already, but it's for you to think about. It's for you to understand that maybe we need to personalize things more. And when I talk about us coming together, and Marwan talks about us coming together and bringing our pieces of the puzzle to the table, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about bringing people that can see things from a slightly different perspective because of their personal life experience, their own brokenness, and can actually engage with the problem solving, bringing new information, new ways of looking at things. And that's how the picture develops. And healthcare is one of those big ones. I mean, quite honestly, it's like we talk about food, we talk about water, we talk about shelter, and we talk about power. And power, we have a really good handle on what we need to go. And if we bring people together, it will happen. Water and food, same situation. The solutions are already there. We just need to apply them and get people to adopt them. And that takes people coming together, and that's where your power really lies. And we're inviting you to come to the table and bring those pieces. When it comes to medicine, and shelter to a great degree because you have real estate developers and all these moving parts that are not connected in any real way except through money and contracts, which is money. We have, and then there's the whole city councils and county commissions and all the rest of it that play a part in zoning and availability. So these are a lot of moving parts in this. Um, but a lot of that, at least the county and government part, can be addressed by bringing people together. The developer and real estate part can also be addressed to some degree by making our needs heard. But we have to agree on those needs first. So we have to talk to each other and determine what priorities are there. Now, this isn't me determining the priorities or Marwan determining the priorities. This is us coming together, laying them all out, and going through a process, however long it takes, until we have a agreement on the priorities and how we're going to approach it. Everybody has a voice. You just need to bring it. Going back to the medical profession, this is beyond my capability of thinking. I don't even have an idea of where we can go with this. I know the problems. I see them. I hear them. I know that our own local hospital has significant issues, um, and that people are not being cared for the way that they need to be cared for. And a lot of it has to do with the level of wealth that they have. And I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. Those who are poorer don't get the better care. And that's just the truth. I didn't know that it had gone quite as extreme as I have heard recently. And some things just make my head explode. I was listening to somebody talk about something called telehealth, where they call in and they talk to a doctor. They may not talk to the same doctor all the time. They get a prescription and they take meds. And if it doesn't work right, there's no real recourse going back to that. And I'm like going, wow. I remember having a doctor, now, granted, few and long ago, doctors actually read your charts and knew you. And when you had a health issue, you looked at it in a more macro way than going through a checklist. And it addressed a lot of things and more addressed the things that go into your system, creating situations in your system. That used to be the primary form of medicine where, diabetes, you do certain things and it creates a diabetic situation. But nobody even talks about changing those things anymore because people won't change those things. That's what the doctors tell me. They aren't going to change them. So they already feel that they have no power to help you heal unless you go through the checklist. That has to be changed. We have to go back to doctors, nurses, and the medical care profession looking at you as a human being, looking at your uniqueness and helping you solve your problem. And I don't know how to start this. I don't. I don't know anybody else who knows how to start this. So if you have an understanding, if you're a nurse, a doctor in the system, dissatisfied, or seeing solutions, contact us and let us know and bring your piece to the puzzle and let's start figuring out how to make it better, how to change that piece of it. And that pretty much is what I wanted to talk about today is an overview of understanding that these are machines, that these are not people trying to hurt you, not people making decisions that affect you directly. There is nothing personal about this. Nothing personal anywhere in the entire system, not even inside the system within each other. This is all just a process that we're caught in the trap of. And I certainly have, and I don't know if others have, but we should have heard the terms about we're locked in the cogs of the machine. We're grinding up in the cogs of the machine. This is what it means. The cogs of the machine are the pieces that are turning, and they have no interrelation to people. They have no awareness of people. and we get caught in the cogs of the machine. And going back to the customer service experience, that's you getting caught in the cogs of the machine. And an example in real estate, if you are in an apartment building that got bought out by private equity, you are now caught in the cogs of the machine. You don't matter. What matters is the money that they make when they turn the apartment over and rent it to somebody for more money. These are the things that you have to think about. It's all a machine, and machines can be reprogrammed. They can be reprogrammed by people, by our decision not to buy them, our decision to take it to Olympia, like Marwan is right now, and engaging with people down there for change. But you can't just do it alone, and you can't do it. And I'm sorry to my friends who are hardcore political people and PCOs and involved in the Democratic and the don't want to say Democrat or Republican, but the democratic system of putting people in to be voted for to be into office. I just want to ask this question: when has that ever changed anything substantial? It hasn't. It's a good way for us to waste our time. And this is the part where we can change this. This is another programming the machine. We can, as a people, a large group of people who have a decision to be more human, can come together within any political group and start creating an environment where we can ask questions and vet candidates that will pay attention to what our needs are and not their political aspirations or the party motive. So think about that. It all starts with us coming together, all of it, every time. And since I have no questions and I've now run 7 minutes past my appointed, my thought out time, I'm going to stop lecturing you and wish you a good day. And while this is probably not the happiest hour of your week, I'm hoping it's your best hour because you're thinking about it now. And send your thoughts to Marwan and the kids. Getting them involved in coming together to make changes is a step in the right direction. To reach us, go to www.reseco.org. You can see it in any of the other previous tipping points and puzzle pieces. If you type in reseco.org, it should take you right to the page. Thank you much. Look for our workshops this Saturday at the Downtown Public Library from 12:30 to 2. We will not be there on the 22nd of this month. We will be at the South Sound Sustainability Expo in Tacoma at University of Washington. And I hope to see you guys there. I actually prefer you to come face-to-face with me and ask me questions so that I don't feel like I have to lecture. I will talk to you later. Have a wonderful day.